Okay, I've unmuted the room. David, we're back. Brooke will call it back into order.
Well, I was.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, I suppose you were, because you had.
Amy and Thomas, you're up. Oh, sorry, you're still trying. Okay.
No, I'm good.
Oh, I know what you jump on that.
Thank you very much. So Thomas and I are going to go over, not in great detail, we have 9 guidance documents that the department put out to cover various pieces of legislation from this past legislative session. They are not actually divided up by the legislation. They're divided up by subject area. And so some of them cover multiple pieces of legislation. Some of them cover just one. And in past years, sometimes we've done one that just says, this is a guidance document on House file, whatever. And the issue with that is years later, you go back and you're like, what was that called? And you can't find the subject matter. And so we decided this year we were going to do them by subject matter and then put them on their subject matter pages. And the feedback we've gotten so far from schools is it's making it like a lot easier to digest, and getting them all out at once has made it easy for schools too. Director Lebo asked us to get them all out by July 1st this year, which was great. It typically takes us a lot longer to develop 9 guidance documents, but we worked really hard this year to get them all done by the time that they were actually to be implemented. And so we actually got them out by the 2nd. So we're 24 hours later than we were supposed to be. I know, and we should be ashamed. So do you want to talk about the first?
Yeah, and there's an overlap between guidance documents and rules. Some of these you've adopted rules already. Some of the rules are already in effect as of yesterday. Others still deciding whether or not rules are necessary because the statute is either facts and circumstances of each student's case or the statute speaks for itself. So some of these you've already taken up as a matter of rulemaking. So in that case, probably not a lot of elaboration, but the first one is one where there's no current plan to make rule because the statute speaks for itself. And that is the combined topic of intellectual freedom, diversity training, and the Pledge of Allegiance. And these 3 statutes kind of operate jointly and they pull and push on each other. The first, intellectual freedom, students and staff have intellectual freedom, they have free speech, but in the guidance document made clear that there are limits to that. There was a concern from some of the membership organizations that, well, could I punish a student for bullying? Well, if they asserted that, well, I've got a free speech right to bully. Well, no, you don't have a free speech right to bully. That sort of degrades the intellectual environment. I don't have a free speech right to cheat. I don't have a free speech right to infringe on somebody else's intellectual property. I don't have a free speech right to taunt or be unsportsmanlike in athletic competition. I don't have a free speech right to do speech that is also a crime, such as terrorism or false report or disorderly conduct. So we tried to spell out, this is what intellectual freedom means. It is in part of the intellectual enterprise, but anything that degrades the intellectual enterprise is not First Amendment protected. It's outside of the scope of this intellectual freedom that is grounded in the First Amendment. We gave an example in the guidance document about 2 students, an assignment to describe the current scientific consensus regarding climate change. And the student writes, it's a hoax, China, it's not really happening, sunspots, whatever the case may be. And the student receives a poor grade. Well, the student earned a poor grade because it's not responsive to the assignment. In contrast, what is your personal belief regarding climate change? And the student says China, sunspots, natural variation, Green New Deal, whatever the case may be, and stated his personal position. and the student received a poor mark because the instructor disagreed, that leans towards an infringement of the student's intellectual freedom, because intellectually and honestly, they answer the question just in a way that the teacher disagreed with. Versus the first example, I didn't respond to the answer. The current consensus, which scientific consensus, which I may disagree with, is knowable. So that is part one of the guidance. Part two of the guidance is mandatory curriculum and mandatory training regarding divisive or specified concepts. The notion of white privilege, implicit bias, and the fact that hard work or a work ethic is somehow discriminatory, that individuals should account for the social harms caused by predecessor members of the same race or the same sex, and other similar concepts. Those cannot be taught as mandatory staff development or mandatory subjects for students. What they can be taught, racism can still be discussed. Staff can, school superintendents can still undertake diversity training for their staff members, but consistent with this statute. The statute does not forbid discussing difficult concepts. What it does forbid is discussing difficult concepts in a way that there is no possibility for disagreement. And then the final, in these two portions, this is the push and pull: intellectual freedom versus defined concepts. The ability to have a robust discussion of real world issues versus how those real world issues are discussed, and how discussions of those real world issues are evaluated and graded. The final portion of this guidance document is discusses the requirement that the flag be displayed and saluted unless either a parent or a student opts out of the flag salute and the Pledge of Allegiance. That opting out, which the code authorizes, is consistent with a 1946 U.S. Supreme Court decision that the First Amendment cannot compel the Pledge of it would violate the First Amendment to compel the Pledge of Allegiance. So all schools must offer the pledge. Students, either a student or that student's parent, may opt out. Any questions about this guidance document?
Is there any concern that if a student or a parent opts out, that they're bullied for that?
Well, that's sort of where it loops back into intellectual freedom, not bullying. If a student is bullied for not stating the pledge, or not reciting the pledge or saluting the flag, the district is bound to respond. There's a duty to prevent bullying based on, if there's a religious-based reason to not salute the flag, religion is a protected characteristic. If there's a political basis not to salute the flag or to stand for the anthem or whatever the case may be, I'm protected from bullying based on my political belief. So that's where I cannot be penalized for exercising the opt-out. And I also must be protected from bullying and harassment for exercising the opt-out. This will be a long discussion, continuous. Had a superintendent ask me if he had to go through and take books off of teachers' bookshelves in their classrooms, if like a teacher had a copy of the 1619 project. No, as soon as you start taking books away, you're probably not on the right side of history. But how am I using those books as a mandatory subject of instruction to students? And so it's sort of narrowing or threading the needle between what I'm permitted to express and when I'm permitted to express it in a way that is mandatory versus something that's optional or a broader discussion of these important topics.
One thing to add to, maybe, I'm not sure if they received this, but our staff went through, in addition to these guidance documents, each content area individual made a short recording going over the guidance. And then we have weekly Q&A sessions where they can ask us questions. So when Thomas talks about, this is our guidance we've given out now, as schools, start and things come up, there's continued opportunity to ask those questions. But we try to give it to them multiple ways. Here's the document, here's a recorded overview, and here's an opportunity to ask questions. And if I don't know if they received all those or not, we can certainly share them with you if you would like to watch, but that's kind of how we're managing, not just this one, all of our guidance documents to make sure we're providing the support that schools need to understand how to implement this work.
Yeah, if we don't have, I'm not sure if we do or not, but can we make sure we have access to?
Yeah, if you don't have the 5-minute videos or 10-minute
Or
videos,
20-minute video.
however long Thomas's went. This is the longest, it's most complex. And we'll get those to you.
Okay, perfect.
And then the Q&A sessions are every Friday at 1:00. We don't record them because they're just sort of free, ask us whatever.
Okay, yeah.
You are most welcome to join them.
I have too many questions today, but I have one more. So do any of the school districts or does the state department provide information to students about what to do if they feel they're being bullied? Because your solution or your comment, I understand you can't provide for everything, but I'm pretty sure that if a student doesn't say the pledge, they're going to be bullied. And they're probably not going to go to the teacher or the principal or whoever say, I'm being bullied because I'm not doing this.
Well, part of the teacher's professional obligation is not to wait for the complaint. Many teachers will intervene. Some don't, but the good ones do. The second portion of that is part of this document describes sort of the inward facing. What is the internal policy that schools must have? And one of the policies is, what do I do as a school when parents are expressing concern? What do I do as a school when parents are expressing concern about curriculum, instruction, assessment? The department has provided parent concern toolkit on its webpage. And one of the most important pieces is the role of the equity coordinator. And these bills expand the role of the equity coordinator to training on First Amendment protections, intellectual freedom, and bullying and harassment based on politics, not just on some of the more frequently cited protected characteristics. So this loops back around and tries to capture the invaluable role of the equity coordinator in the bullying harassment policy.
I know that we're already behind time, but the one thing I want to add to that, just because it is important, is Iowa Code 28028 requires that all districts in Iowa have a policy on bullying and harassment, anti-bullying, anti-harassment policy. And so the Bureau of School Improvement does check policies. All districts in Iowa are compliant. They have a compliant policy. The other thing we do is check for appropriate implementation, either spot checking as we're doing visits or desk audits, or as we receive concerns, complaints or concerns from parents or from students that they feel that they might not have adequate access to a complaint form or that the process isn't being followed. And we also collect data on founded complaints of bullying and harassment. So, and that's aggregate information. It's not, we don't have identifiable student information that's coming in, but that does go to Jay Pennington's bureau. So if somebody's saying that they don't have any bullying and harassment happening, then we know about that too. So lots of ways. Anything else on that first document? Yeah.
I was just going to add too that the weekly report that went out on Friday has all of those videos attached to it.
Okay.
Yes.
That's okay, perfect.
See those videos, right?
Thank you.
Those.
So check your state email.
Good reminder, thank you.
So I'm going to go through the next 3 documents that we have on here. 2 of them sort of in depth, and then the school finance and fiscal guidance. It kind of speaks for itself about what the changes are, but
And you've already considered many of those subjects through rulemaking.
yes.
So the content has been before you either for notice of intended action or adopted and filed, including 2 rules today.
So the charter schools guidance, the biggest thing to know about the charter schools guidance is you're going to do rulemaking on this, and it's going to be pretty in-depth. And you also have a ton of information that you are probably going to consume about charter schools over the course of the next year. Because as the authorizer for charter schools in the state of Iowa, and the state board now has more information before you. So Iowa's charter school law has been expanded so that there are 2 more pathways for charter schools to come before the state board and become charter schools. And so the rules need to be noticed at the September state board meeting. Which means that, yeah, that's what I think about it too. So we're gonna have the rules come before you at this September state board meeting, and we'll have opportunity for public comment. I expect that we'll get lots of public comment on what those rules look like. The most important thing from my perspective is that you all have time, potentially it's a workshop time to learn about what it means for the different pathways and who would be coming before you, and what does the application process look like? Because we've had just a little bit of time to think that through, but we want to understand what your preference looks like. And, if we get 10 applications at once, what's that board meeting going to look like?
Do you think we'll have applications?
No.
But in the next year, maybe?
No, it would be, we would be not receiving applications this year because they need to be in the year prior to the year that they're going to be actually opening the school. But you have this year to kind of prepare for, so what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
So it would be more like, this is just for argument's sake. I'm not saying these are the dates that you would have in the rules for sure, because we would have public comment and everything. But we have other things that have a deadline of the year prior to enact the year that they're going into effect, right? That are due in January or March. So for the state board to actually say, yeah, your charter school can open, maybe you would want to be able to know about it in January and make a decision on it at the March meeting, for instance. So those are
For the succeeding.
For the August.
succeeding school year. So
Okay.
those are the kind of things that you need to be thinking about, like this whole year in advance. And we need to know from the department's perspective, like, as you're thinking about your meetings, which you're going to talk about today before you leave, like when throughout the year, good times for you to have maybe even a half-hour workshop session on which things do we need to talk about for charter schools throughout the year? Do we need to have a little January session on charters? Do we have a little March session on charters? Just so that we're keeping you up to date on what you need to know about charter school law, what it means to be a charter school authorizer, what the pathways are, if we're receiving applications. The earliest that we could have an application out would be, probably after the rules are final, but they will get noticed in September. And then we want to make sure that you're all understanding timeline for that. But, so the earliest I think that you would probably want to have applications in would be like January, so that you can make decision in March.
Have you had a lot of people just calling and inquiring about the new law and having interest in having a charter school?
Not a ton, but we have a few that are definitely interested.
Many of our rural schools that had to merge want to separate back out and become charter schools.
I have not had that.
I was thinking about that one school that wants to be a maker program and they have all their town people here.
Oh, yeah. They haven't inquired about, it's Hamburg. Yeah, they haven't inquired about being a charter.
I was just wondering.
Could a school district like that do that? Or would just a subset of, I mean, how would that work? Is that possible?
An entire district can't become a charter, but they could have a school within the district be a charter.
Like the high school, they went to high school.
That high school that had all those different programs and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
I was wondering, could they make the high school?
Okay,
And, you know,
interesting.
this is a,
That would be under the school district's rules for charters, wouldn't it, as opposed to coming to us?
So
Aren't there two ways to be a charter school?
I
One
guess
is
we need to learn
go
more
to the
about
local
this.
District and
I have
one
no
is
idea.
to come directly to us.
yes, you have to
Yes.
approve both,
Yeah,
but they
Oh.
can come two different ways. So I
Yeah.
think we probably are getting in the, we
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
just need a whole time dedicated to talk about this.
I
I
think
think the
that'd be
main thing
helpful,
was to know that, you know, the issuing the guidance and that there's gonna be rules
Yeah.
and that you all need more information
Yeah.
Yes.
about what this is, because you're gonna become more actively engaged in it.
and
But these are all good. We can take note of all this as we prep for something to have to bring back.
Just quickly, I just wrote down a few notes. I'm assuming you guys use a lot of different resources when you develop the requirements that or the guidelines that you posted. Is there any track record of success needed or there's a state board approval? I mean, if somebody just comes up, hey, I want to open a charter school,
That would be really great.
what's your background? I mean,
so what is in the guidance is typically we just take whatever is in the law. You'll notice that there's a footer on all of our guidance documents that says that we do not have, our guidance has the weight. It has the weight of
it's not.
the law. It is, right? So we do not give guidance that is broader than what is in law. Having said that, when we do the rulemaking, one of the points of getting input from groups that may be interested in having charters and from members of the board right now is what is a logical thing that would be in the application? And so having a record of success is something that would be logical to ask for. Whether it gets you points or it is a required thing is a different question.
So I'm going to cap this discussion on charters by using ESSA as an example. And a lot of things in Every Student Succeed Act require a plan year. And this is the plan year for charters, both for the state board as well as potential applicants, whether that's a founding group or a school board. This work is too important and too risky. And I use risky as factual and try to be judgment free, but it's too important and too many things at play to rush into this. And this coming year is a whole year of thoughtful deliberation for both the state board, the department, as well as potential charter applicants.
Thanks. Yeah, that's awesome. So the school accreditation and improvement changes actually has two pieces to it. So one of them is just reiterating a section of code that was, it is chapter 256.11 that was just expanded on a bit. And it's something that you all have a little experience with. It is about enforcement and accreditation and when districts are not in compliance with state or federal law. So the section of 256.11 where you have been with Davenport or with Hamburg and Farragut, for some of you who have been with us for a while, where it talks about the enforcement options available to the board, has been expanded to say that, first of all, the director must bring to the state board any non-compliance that has been outstanding for 30 days or more. So once we hit 30 days, Director Lebo is going to be bringing any issues that are outstanding directly to the state board, and you can take action on those. What that action is still open to board discretion, but the director needs to put them in front of you. The rest of that section has enforcement actions that already existed, but they are now enumerated in state law. So they are things like under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the department has always had some pretty broad discretion for withholding funds if necessary in instances of non-compliance. Same thing under ESEA. We had instances of non-compliance. We had some pretty broad discretion for requiring corrective actions, but those things are really listed. And what I think would be logical here is if at some point we do a particular presentation on exactly what these things look like, because I can update the chart that I usually show you on what board authority looks like, so that these are great. And then you have that as a resource. The other thing that's in the school accreditation and improvement changes is what used to be in the same section of code as an innovative waiver program that was never used. Actually, it was used once in the whole time that I have worked here, is now gone and replaced by a new program. So the innovative waiver, the idea behind it was that any district could get a waiver to do something innovative with their school program. I don't know that many people knew it existed. It was a waiver of the requirements of basic accreditation. And so the one school we ever had that asked for one was Waco, and they did a 4-day week before anybody was even on an hour's calendar. And they persisted in that, and it worked out great for them. But that's the only one that I think Thomas or I ever had come through. So we now have a new program in there, and it is called the Flexible School and Student Support Program. So this one allows for schools to apply to have any of the requirements for accreditation that are about minimum calendar, so hours or days, about the program that needs to be offered at elementary, middle school, high school, temporarily waived anywhere from 1 to 3 years at a time, if the school can demonstrate how they are going to do something that is evidence-based, that is actually going to make conditions better for kids. And how are they going to measure that? And how are they going to give a report to the department and check in, right? And it can be revoked at any time if it doesn't actually happen. And then if they are approved, they can actually use their flexible spending account funds to fund the program as well. So that is the point of that guidance. We have not had any applications because the application doesn't exist yet. There will also be a rulemaking on that. Most of that code is self-explanatory and doesn't need a rulemaking, but there is not a date by which the applications are due, and there is no actual application. So we'll also have a very brief rule that you can notice at the September meeting.
So the next document is school finance and fiscal guidance. Again, I'm not bilingual in school finance. Tom Cooley can correct me if I'm wrong, but many of these topics you've seen through rulemaking, one of which was the supplemental weighting, the use of the flexibility account to support the innovative practices that Amy just mentioned. So if you have particular questions about that guidance document, I direct them to that have not already been addressed through the rulemaking process. I would be willing to answer them, but I think that particular document, Tom's team did a really good job of concretely and for his intended audience, for their intended audience of school business officials, laying out some of the minor changes and some of the more significant changes. Tom, do you have anything to add?
First question.
I'm going to group the next three items, 5, 6, and 7, open enrollment. You have noticed those rules. You have adopted those rules. A couple of changes statutorily, the option for 5 districts to maintain or restrict open enrollment based on diversity plans, that was eliminated. By statute, there was a requirement for Medicaid billing that the sending and receiving districts cooperate so that the receiving district can bill for special education services that are billable to Medicaid. And there were some changes to open and to athletic eligibility. One of the changes in document 6 was the statute increased the amount of increase the financial threshold to be eligible for transportation assistance. Transportation assistance for individuals with low income who participate in open enrollment. It's indexed to the federal consumer poverty level. And by statute, that index was increased per family from 160% to 200%. So more families will be eligible for open enrollment transportation assistance. Document 6 spells that out. And then document 7 is for school business officials. It sets out what the rates are for the coming year for open enrollment billing. So any questions about documents 5, 6, or 7?
Yeah, just information, I guess, with 5, the open enrollment for those 3 school districts. How many school buildings right now in Iowa are considered in need of significant need of improvement?
So in significant need of improvement is I believe that is we were just having this discussion upstairs. So significant need of improvement is not an official federal term. It is one of the state categories. And so I can't tell you off the top of my head how many there are, but I can look it up when we are not talking and tell you the number.
So how different is the state definition from the federal?
Yeah, so here's the short story is this. There's a state report card and it has 5 or 6 categories of, it has 5 or 6 categories of performance. And Jay, I think, has done a presentation on this before that we can get you. And then there's the Elementary and Secondary Education Act that has targeted schools, comprehensive schools, and then you're fine. And so what Jay did is he's mapped all of these. He did it by kind of looking at statistically where they all fell out on a continuum. And I cannot remember off the top of my head how they mapped in terms of in need of improvement and targeted and right. And so I have the crosswalk someplace that I can send you, but I cannot remember it off the top of my head. So I can't remember how many.
It'd be nice, yeah, if you could send it and we could see it.
Yeah. And I bet it's posted on our website too. And,
Somewhere.
and Jay will just tell me where it is. And then
Oh, and send us a link. Okay. I was like, I'm not sure if I can find it on the website, but I could try.
So for ESSA, we have 300 schools at any time that are in the targeted area, right? And so we'll just
Okay, yeah. And I'm sure that changes probably all the time.
yeah. And so they get added, they get taken.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So we'll just get you the list.
Okay, thank you. Question, Bay.
Document 8, athletic eligibility. I'm not going to repeat because you just adopted rules.
Yeah.
And document 9, update the current PE and high school programs guidance. There are some permissible exemptions from PE at the high school level. The legislature added to this past session. I'm exempted or excused from PE if I participate in a junior ROTC program. just because of the magnitude, the high bar that junior ROTC sets for physical fitness. And I learned in this process, junior ROTC also does a very good job of accommodating ROTC members with disabilities. So embedded in ROTC is the ability to adapt their requirements based on students' need because of physical or mental impairment. The second is participation in the legislative page program in the spring semester, because we have pages during the Friday adjournment who go back and take and walk halls with a Fitbit.
Yeah.
Because their guidance counselor said PE finger wagging is required. And when you look at all of the running around pages do up the stairs and down the stairs, that this bill was initiated by the pages themselves. So the
For them,
pages themselves brought this forward,
Feel like a little gopher.
leadership to, and just based on the, if I'm participating in the legislative page program, I'm serving the public, and my service should somehow be rewarded, especially the amount of time I'm on my feet, running between subcommittees, going up and down the stairs. I think an hour in the Capitol building going up and down the stairs will be suitable strength and cardio for anybody. And those are the two exemptions or expansions to PE excusals. The document also captures some additional guidance for individuals with disabilities, adapted PE, the fact that children with disabilities have access to the general PE program unless they require specialized PE. PE should not be an afterthought for children with disabilities. And the guidance document made that point. So any questions about either 8 that I haven't already answered in the rulemaking process or guidance document number 9? Thank you for gratifying my need for attention again.
We're all just sitting here staring at you, Thomas.
It's been a long day for you.
Thank you.
Everyone from Davenport is here.
So, yeah. Okay. Do they know we're coming next month?
Mind them, their time. They're allowed time.
Oh, I don't even, where are we at?
So if they're allowed 20 minutes, you remind them upfront.
I don't think they need reminding. I guess you could, but
Okay.
can, it's fine.
Well, I have to leave to go pick up my son in
Yeah,
like
if you, because you
5 minutes.
could you remind them upfront, just because everyone kind of be concise.
Want to do that? So we have them on for 20 minutes or? We're on tight schedule. And then they have another, so they have a meeting with you guys after this? And then they have to drive back? They've been here for hours. That.
I said you're a traitor.
Welcome.
Trick chair.
Is she from Marshalltown? Oh,
Marshalltown to go to Davenport.
oh, I see. Betty wasn't too happy about that.
Still love you.
All right. Hi, TJ. How are you?
Afternoon, how are you?
Good. It's been a long day.
Yes, I bet it.
Sorry for making you guys wait.
Good.
So I'll be very brief, and then I will let TJ introduce his new team so that you can move on with your schedule. In your packet today, you have the new action. It's not new, it is continued. The continued action plan for Davenport for the 2021-22 school year. This looks a little bit different than the monthly update that you receive. That is because this does not have what's gone on in August. And it would not be fair to ask a brand new team to come and give an update on what's going on since they started their brand new jobs in July at the August meeting. And so this is, however, an action plan that has a couple of things that are different than from last year. One is you'll notice that there are a couple of goals that have been changed to sustaining. That's because they're actually done and they're just going to sustain their progress. So they're blacked out and you're not going to get routine reports on those. The other is that some of them just say continue. They were so close to being done that we have marked them continue. And while you'll get reports, they aren't going to be as in-depth as some of the others. And then you will see that within MTSS and PBIS, those have been expanded to incorporate all of the detailed steps. So one of the questions that we had from the board as we were wrapping up last year was, so what exactly goes into that? And so Mississippi Bend AEA and Davenport staff worked hard over the last couple of months to lay out, all right, so what do those look like? And they've written all of those in here so that you have more detailed action steps to follow. So there is an item that you need to take action on today, please. This action plan needs to be either edited as you see fit or sanctioned by the board so that the district can move forward with it. And unless you have any questions, I think that's all you need to hear from me. And TJ can say what he wants about the plan and then introduce his team.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, thank you for letting us come today. We were at the School Administrator of Iowa event the last couple of days, and it was an opportunity for us to connect and reconnect. And actually, that was the title of the event. And so we've had a lot of time to digest our plan and best how to move forward. We met with our administrators yesterday and continue to share the plan. I am very excited about the direction that we're headed. The hyper focus on early literacy and implementation of PBIS with the notion that we're going to provide multi-tiered system of supports for all students. And the way that we have been moving forward in a collaborative manner with the AEA and Davenport school employees, we're putting things together and we're vetting them. And I'm very excited about the plans that we have in place. We've shared our literacy plan with our local school board. The thing that is most exciting about it is it's nothing new. It's enhancing what we're doing, absolutely implementing what we're doing with fidelity and vetting that through research-based practices and eliminating some practices that are redundant. And so really narrowing our focus is really going to be the focus for this upcoming school year. So today I'm very excited to bring our new cabinet today. So to do some introductions, first of all, we always have Dan and Linda, our president, vice president of Davenport School Board, and their outstanding support. They have worked incredibly hard with IASB. We just finished up another workshop on onboarding new board members, better boardsmanships, and things like that. And Dan and Linda have done an outstanding job leading our board through those workshops. And Dan and Linda have been going to the monthly IASB trainings and things like that. So it's been wonderful to reconnect there. Up first, we have Dr. Lisa Stevenson. She is our Director of Learning and Results. She has been an elementary principal, curriculum director in West Liberty, and most recently in Marshalltown. Yesterday, she was up for School Administrator of the Year in Iowa. We were very proud of that. She didn't bring the hardware home, but we know she probably could have deserved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Very fortunate to have her. She's bringing a sense of calm, a background knowledge of ELL, early childhood, which is very important to us. And so far she's jumped in. She's already led a presentation for the school board in a matter of a month. So doing an excellent job. We have Dr. Jay Klitsch. He is one of our instructional leadership directors. And so think of regions, North, Central, and West. He is the director over the North or the Central region. And Jake has been an elementary principal, a middle school principal, and a high school principal. His previous job was the director of school climate transformation for Davenport Community School District. And he brings a very detail-oriented incredibly hard worker to the team. And so we're very glad to have Jake part of our team. We have Dr. Willie Barney. His background is, actually, I don't have enough time to get into Dr. Willie Barney's background. He's done a lot of great things in education. He started high school principal in Waterloo, was an associate superintendent in Waterloo, and most recently has been a superintendent in the state of Iowa. And Willie's going to be our instructional leadership director for the North region. Brings great knowledge in all types of subjects, but also just a depth of experience as a school administrator that puts students first. That's the thing I noticed about Willie so far. We have Ben Driscoll. Ben Driscoll is he has been a middle school principal and elementary school principal. He is the instructional leadership director for the West region, Davenport schools. Incredibly passionate systems thinker. In the first month, organized our cabinet meetings with agendas and norms and had it all set up. And that's Ben's bringing an incredible systems lens to the team. And so that's our instructional cabinet members. We also have operations, finance, and CFO, but wanted you to get to meet our newest cabinet members today and interact with them at all. I will say in the first month, the treadmill was on high and they just jumped on and start running. And I'm very optimistic at the collaboration that's occurred. I'm very optimistic about the connectedness throughout the state. You know, yesterday at SAI, Dr. Barney facilitated the fireside chat with the keynote speaker yesterday. So it was outstanding. Did a very nice job in a very tough situation. So we are getting ready to kick the year off. We have a district-wide leadership team. It'll be the first time we're in front of all of our school leadership teams, and we're going to be sharing this plan, and they're going to begin to do individual building plans for that, and then that's when the work will start. So that's kind of our progress report for the month of July. It's been incredibly busy and exciting, and we're anxious for the year to start. So.
School board elections coming up this year. So what's the situation of Davenport as far as people are these two returning? Are they up for election? Or? These
two are returning, and Dan, you want to speak to that?
I'm safe for another 2 years. We have only 3 board seats that are up. And 2 of the 3 I know have said that they're going to run again. So it's a little early to tell because people haven't had to submit paperwork and stuff like that. So hopefully we get our same team since we've done so much work through ISB and all that. We're a completely different board than we were when we were very first here. I can say that with all the different trainings and stuff like that. And our last workshop that we just did with the ISB last week. It was Monday night.
I do the same thing.
We were all pretty much focused on the same stuff when we were doing the different breakout sessions and stuff. So it's kind of nice to see everybody working towards the same goal. So, and then I do all of the board workshops that the ISB has for webinars for board presidents and all that stuff. So I go way above and beyond on what I should do for a volunteer position. But at the end of the day, you know, it's what's best for the kids and doing that and to get our boardsmanship better than it was. So
absolutely.
Well, we all realize that school board has a lot to do with what goes on in schools. And I wish that you have 3 people that come on and do a great job for you.
So I have a question. Over the last year, I know there have been a lot of changes. So you're about to kick off the new year and, you know, throw in a pandemic and everything. And it sounds like you guys are excited. And I mean, it's great that you have new leadership and a new cabinet. So how are people or the teachers and everything feeling about, I know some people can be like, kind of like, oh, there's kind of a lot of change, or is it excitement, or is it kind of apprehension? I mean,
I would say there's some anxiety around it right now. Absolutely. Last night we had every administrator from Davenport in it at our kickoff, so to speak, yesterday. And the tone at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting were completely different because everybody came in, they were nervous. They didn't quite know what to expect because our administrators are coming back on contract. And by the end, it was excitement.
Okay.
So I think there is some unknown. And we moved our central office people into buildings. And so there's still a little nervousness and how are we going to gel together? You know, what's your job? What's my job? All of that stuff still needs to be worked out. So I would say that there is some nervousness, but I was very uplifted last night because by the end of the meeting, our administrators were, I'm still receiving text messages from them today. Like, we needed this. We needed to hear it. We needed to see it. We need to see your team interacting together. And that really, so I think as we get moving forward into the year, I think it will calm.
Okay.
And we have been very unstable. And so what's moving forward for us is stability. And I can see it and I can feel it. It's going to take some time though.
Absolutely.
About it.
Sorry about that.
I think what's sort of nice to see having you all here is that, you know, we've spent all this time planning and talking about implementation and now we're seeing it.
Yeah.
And your physical presence is sort of what you're talking about when they're in the schools and they all show up. That is the physical demonstration of their implementation. And I commend all of you. And I'm excited for all of you in the work ahead.
Are you getting feedback yet from the community on changes that they've seen so far and changes that they're expecting?
I would say it's too soon for that. I think when the school year, unfortunately with COVID coming back, that's kind of been our conversation and I don't need to explain that to you, but that's kind of been engulfing a little bit of our conversation now in online learning, some of the things like that we're trying to deal with. So I would say that the changes will be very evident, you know, where instead of somebody that oversees all the elementary schools and somebody that oversees all the secondary schools, they have somebody in their region. And so I'm excited to see how that develops inside the climate of that region. You know, being present inside the classrooms and dances and games and things like that will be where the community can really see and engage, and then the work will follow. I think that's going to be really important. Being seen and being visual, I think, is going to be really important.
Well, I would move that we approve the revised current action plan that's before us.
I second.
All right, it's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's nice meeting all of you.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Oh, we just have.
Thank you. And the guy is still just walk by. He really did wait till the bitter end.
We just have one last.
All right, so the calendar,
The last item, and we probably just need a vote on this, is the
Oh.
proposed calendar. And so it has the dates and the timeline. You've had an opportunity to look at that. Any questions or concerns? Otherwise, I think we just entertain a motion to approve. I think and one comment was brought up about when we schedule things. I don't think that has to be part of what we do today.
Okay, I move we approve the proposed meeting dates for 2022.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Oh, you know what? We didn't do board reports.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't do
Move
those.
the end.
Skip them.
Board reports.
Oh,
Before we
Yeah.
adjourn.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to do board reports? Because we did skip that from earlier during lunch.
Wow, okay. no
I
one
don't
wants
have
to-
anything to report.
Okay,
So I pass.
okay, okay.
I pass.
Well, I don't really have a board report. but I want to make sure this gets into the record. I don't know how many of you noticed this, but on January 3rd, the governor ordered the flags flown at half mast for Lametta Wynn.
Mhm.
And the big headline was she was the first African-American Black woman to be a mayor. But she also served on this board when I first came on it.
Oh, did she?
Oh, she's, oh,
And
yeah.
I've tried to Google to see if she was the first African-American or if she was the first Black woman or what. I can't find anything. So I wanted, in the board minutes. I knew her quite well. She had 10 children. One son who, and she didn't drive, so the one son was or is a policeman here in Des Moines. And he'd drive over to Clinton, pick her up, bring her over here. And then since she did a car, why she and I ride over here for our meetings. And I think it could be checked. She may have one that really initiated the goal of closing the achievement gap. She was obviously very concerned about that. And I think just about every meeting she spoke to that issue. So.
That's great.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And if anyone wants to look it up, it's in the Des Moines Register, Saturday, July 3rd. There's an article.
Okay.
Yeah. So I couldn't find any place where she was acknowledged as a member of the State Board of Education, and
That's
Don't know why.
not even in that. Okay, wow.
I do have a quick question. When we do have public comment, this is my first meeting that I've had so much public comment on very similar, on a lot of same subjects. How do we handle, we can handle it? Let me just do a general question. How do you handle public comment if it's not on the current agenda?
Good question.
And that is something that is within the board chair's discretion to address separately. So that is something
Okay,
that we
board chair.
can tend to, and actually ties into, I think Brooke has a final statement. And Thomas would like to make a statement.
Public comment is open for anything that the public wants to comment on. It should not be tied to an agenda item.
Okay.
We can't take action on
You
it.
can't take action.
Bring that, yeah.
Asking how do we respond? We in sync today. Just on it.
She's saying it, she's interpreting it for us. Thank you.
A lot of years of interpretation.
When it's not on the agenda, there isn't really a place for us to comment or to have a discussion, because we'd be outside the scope of any sort of intentional conversation. And so it is we listen, and then that's sort of the extent of how we manage it during that day if it's not too tied to an agenda item.
The underlying questions, a lot of the comments went to a matter that if we don't address today or soon, it won't be addressed when the school year starts.
I want to
Right? I mean,
acknowledge.
they were all talking about the masking. I'm not trying to say we should.
Say something.
Okay.
Yep, so
I think that's what,
Something, we gotta do something. Right?
I think we have a
I wanna
final
say
statement.
something.
Okay. All right.
I just have a quick piece of information. I shared with Anna that this year I applied to lead school evaluation for 2 charter schools.
Oh,
So I'm gonna do that in I think December and February. So
okay.
Good information.
This will be good for us. Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
fair enough. Do you have anything, Georgia? No? Okay. Okay, so I can make my, oh, yeah, sure.
Carol, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we are going to try and get you guys' badges next month. And so we're looking at, are we still looking?
I was
at that?
thinking November.
November, okay, so
Yeah.
November 1. And so Brian, we'll be sending out something to you because I think we're planning to start a little bit earlier. Okay.
Yeah, I did send a note. We need an hour and we were thinking if we could do it like 8:30 to 9:30 and push the start of the work session.
Oh, they have to go over there and take
Yes, they all
pictures?
have to be present.
Oh.
It takes an hour.
More of a process than what you can.
Yes.
But it
I
will
don't have
be
to examine
valuable for you
You
to
have
have when
yours,
the
yes.
building's locked,
Everyone, okay.
so you can get in and out.
I got in today without the,
It's not locked.
We
wasn't locked today.
anticipate our security system will be up by then.
oh, okay. There was tape over today, so I didn't know what's going on.
Properly by then.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
got a wave and walked in.
So is that gonna go like on so just
I
before,
just need to make arrangements if you're all agreeable to that date
is everyone okay with that?
In November.
in the first part of, yeah.
Sure.
You said 8:30 in the morning?
Is there an
8:30 in the morning.
Badge,
Huh?
wear a lanyard or
Cost to us?
something. If I-
No,
Sure, yes, that works.
8:30 in the morning and whatever that meeting is. Where was the
Where's
date?
that at, Shannon?
We have to go over to, is it the Lucas?
Lucas Building? Or no, it's a Walt,
Lucas or Hoover, one of these.
Hoover. I think it's Hoover.
Kaylee, yeah, it's Hoover and Kaylee, our HR professional, will take everyone over. So we would meet here.
It's just like across it's like right across the
8:30.
road.
8:30 for the November meeting, I think, November 7th, yeah. No, November 16th, Wednesday, Wednesday? It's a Wednesday.
And we're just talking about
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that still work? Okay,
Yeah, we have to get it scheduled and, we're gonna be, the plan is to be in Davenport in September. So the November meeting will be the next time we're back.
are you
here.
gonna be here
I am not.
for November?
For September.
September.
Yeah, but November you'll be here.
Pardon me?
November you'll be here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
December, we're going to Davenport.
That's the plan for our upcoming meeting. So we'll send out more information on that. But as a reminder, that's our next, our meeting is planned to be in Davenport.
Oh, good. I wanna go.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So I would like to make concluding statement. The board has heard extensive comment on legislation about masks in schools this morning. So this is an important topic which requires careful consideration. And the board will consider those comments, but the board is not prepared to act on those comments today.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.